a celebrated former judge of the Madras High Court, who during his tenure from 2006 to 2013 disposed of not less than 96,000 cases, a brilliant advocate who advocated for human rights with passion and, of course, a mission, a former student activist whose communist philosophies probably fueled his fight against capitalist prodigies, a vocalist against caste discrimination, and an ardent proponent of equality in the way the Constitution of India has defined and derived it, recipient of Tantai Periyar Award for Social Justice and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Award for 2021, author of several books and a revolutionary autobiography, I Too Became a Judge, and above all, the real hero of Jai Bhim. Welcome, Honorable Justice K. Chandru, to this august audience. I was just wondering whether we could start the session by just requesting you to narrate to them, how did you feel when you became a celebrity out of the iron pillars of what judiciary always meant, the ivory towers to the real ivory scenes?
Good evening to you. Celebrity is a word which is very bigger word. When a film like this comes, it doesn't mean everybody accepts the film. It had its own opposition, its own resistance, bitter criticism, and also so much attraction and devotion to this film. There are people who have seen it more than 10 times. So it's a mixed reaction. In fact, as a judge, we know when we deliver a judgment, we also step into the shoes of many people. And therefore, we receive bouquets and brickbats in equal equanimity. We don't get carried away by only the bouquets. And there were court cases also filed against the film. And therefore, in the last 1 year, there are a lot of things that has happened. And it takes a long time to explain what all happened. But nevertheless, when the film was made, and we finally, before we send it to the censor, today censor is required, even if it is shown in the OTT, and the censor wanted to put 46 cuts for the film. Otherwise, they will not give a UA certificate. But the producers and the Mr. Surya, they stood their ground and they said, we will not cut any single scene. We ourselves have moderated the amount of violence that took place in the police station, and we refused to cut any one of the scene, and therefore it took long time to get a censorship certificate. Finally, the censor gave an adult certificate. If the adult certificate goes to a theatre, I know many women will not come to a theatre when there is an adult certificate, and children will not be allowed. Today, cutting across all this, the success of the film was it was released in the OTT, and therefore, disregarding the age and disregarding the gender, there is a wide range of audience for the film, and I am overwhelmed by the kind of affection people have shown to me all over India. In fact, after the film came, I went to Patna. The main hero in the film is a judge. His name is Prabhashankar Mishra. He was transferred from Patna to Madras during the year 1990. There were judges before of the Madras, of the Tamil Nadu, of any other state. And they have also dealt with habeas corpus jurisdiction. But never once anybody has gone to the extent of extending the maximum jurisdictional power that a judge has got. But for him, this film would not have been there. So with all humility, modesty and devotion, I went to Patna. Unfortunately, he passed away. I met his wife and told her that but for Justice Mishra, Jai Bhim would not have been a story at all. Therefore, in any court, it is also the judge which matters. The law is the same. the arguments are the same, but nevertheless the judge decides in his great discretion. And Misra was not only deciding this case, during his period, at least in the year 1993 when this case was heard by the court, he had occasion to decide 4 women cases. All of them are either scheduled castes or Adivasis, and all of them are women. All of them never had an opportunity to come to court. All of them never had a capacity to engage lawyers. But in all these cases, Justice Misra ordered a special investigation team. He has ordered compensation. He has granted rehabilitation, and he has monitored the trial of the policeman. And therefore, there is something which we should see with all modesty. The judge who played a very great role in this matter, and the kind of reception that I had, I can tell you, from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, mostly the youth and the students, they were really overwhelmed by the film. I don't think any other film had received such kind of a reception. It has also induced their thought process, and 3 questions are asked in many of the university campuses, many of the colleges. The students were asking, we were feeling guilty that we do not know such people live among us. The second thing they raised was that what is that we can do for them, not as a charity, but to change the whole the structure of the Adivasi's plight. And these are the 2 major things where it is beyond a movie. We could see something more than what a movie can do, and I can also tell you many other things later.
Sir, I have no doubt on my mind as a lawyer myself that in every court, the judge is finally the hero of the day. But in some cases, like in the habeas corpus petition 711 of 2013, where a brilliant lawyer, Advocate K. Chandru, led the day, he was the real hero. I'm sure you must have all seen Jai Bhim, which actually depicted the story of Raja Kannu, a tribal, who was miserably and probably inhumanly treated and was a subject of custodial death. Then Advocate K. Chandru, who was himself a human rights activist, empathized with the situation, and on the plea of the wife of Raja Kannu, takes up the case, conducts a small investigation himself, challenges the court, dares the society, and probably the human rights as it existed then, and then takes on with the court to have a 30-day investigation report done and finds out that it was a case of custodial death. Remarkable for that time. Far away from social media and the media that we have now, probably, in my opinion, I don't know whether I am correct in saying so, was this judgment underplayed for the time? Probably if you see now, with the kind of social media impact that we have for judgments, have you ever felt that but for Jai Bhim, this judgment and your venture and your activism would have probably gone unnoticed?
This is a very difficult question, but at the same time, I would say that in 1993, when this case was fought, 30 years back, I also wrote in some magazines. I don't think anybody took serious of the story behind this this particular case. You know, print media has got a very limited influence. And later, to some other cinema directors, I have told this story also, but then it also requires the imagination of a director. In this case, Director Janavel, who was my friend, who was also a print journalist. And once I was, after my retirement, I was going to Neyveli for a book fair. I was supposed to inaugurate. He came along with me in the same car. This particular place where this incident took place was around the Neyveli town. Therefore, I showed him the village where they lived, the police station where they were tortured, where the body was thrown. All this, when I told him, he could imagine a story in this. So when we came back, he asked me for the documents of this case. But by the time I became a senior and then later as a judge, where are the documents? After 30 years, we don't keep all those documents. But with great difficulties, we were able to get some of the basic documents. And once that was there, he wrote the story and went to Surya, who is his friend, who is also the owner of this production company. And he asked him, will you support this? And Surya said that his company will financially support the film. Whether his acting is not very sure. Later, Gnanavel did not give up. He wrote the full script and again read it out to Surya. Then Surya said that if there is no other character for the lawyer, I will do the character. And that became one of the major factors for this film. And secondly, when we started working on the film, we didn't want to stop it as a crime story. If it is a story of Rajakannu and Sangeni, people would have had very limited patience. Therefore, we wanted to show the larger life of the tribal community and therefore their place where they live, how they live, what they eat, what is their festival, how they treat death, and all this, the entire the canvas of the tribes that has been brought into the film. Then Gnanavel wanted to have a documentary on my life, which I refused. Then some other incidents in my life were also brought in as a character. He took my permission to use my name. Only two names were real names. That is the Inspector General Perumal Sami and lawyer Chandru. Then when these three combinations came, that there is a society which lives in a more inhuman condition, which faces the state repression. And Rajakannu case is only a typical example of a decriminalized or a denotified tribes. And when the shooting started, there were COVID, we could not have outdoor shooting, and the courts never permit shooting to take place in the court halls. So we got to put up a set, and we also told Surya, the court scenes are very monosyllable arguments. In High Court, they do not entertain shouting and talking in high tone. There is no heroine in the story. There is no fight. Therefore, it may not fit into a formula, but with great generosity agreed that well, let me do some different stories. When all these things took place, we went to the rush, we saw the film, and then we realized that how much it will be taken by the people. We also decided to release in 5 different languages and also put an English subtitle along with that, because that's a requirement in OTT when you show for an international audience. The second day we could realize that it is going to generate a great interest among the audience. That was the greatest success, which we did not imagine earlier. This is one important factor I must tell you. And secondly, whether it will face any reprisal, that's another question. But I must thank Kerala for 2 reasons. One is that the 2 nephews of the deceased Rajakannu, they were working as a domestic servants in Kollam district, and their addresses were not to be found. And without their presence, the case could not be established, because Rajakannu is dead and gone, and nobody has seen what happened in the lockup. So we took a drive. That was not a lawyer role. We had a great difficulty in bringing the case to the court, because the court were asking solid proof. And what is the proof except this lady's statement, who has not seen anything inside the lockup? Whatever she saw is outside, and she never saw the husband. And therefore the case came to a standstill. By the time the division bench composition changed and Mishra took over. That's one great victory. The second was, during the interregnum period, we started searching for these people, and there is no clue where they were to be found. Fortunately, the 2 sons sent some money order. Those days money order, you must have seen, now it is abolished. The money order was sent to the mother, some 20 rupees. The money order, you can write some few lines for the relatives or the recipient, and they are not very educated, so they never wrote anything. But they had the seal of Kollam district, Koilan. So we came to Koilan, went to some union office, asked them, do you help us to find out some 2 Tamil laborers? They said, we have a huge district, where to go? We said, we have no other to go. And therefore they sent cadres to different villages, and they were able to find in one village these 2 Adivasi boys were working. When we went to them, half the case was over, but then they were refusing to come. They were mortally afraid of the police. And then cajoling them and saying that their uncle's justice is important, they should contribute. Finally, I took them to my office, kept them in the office, fed them, made a statement, and produced before Justice Misra. And that became the turning point in this case, because there are eyewitnesses who saw real murder taking place in a police lockup in the name of torture. And then only the SIT came, then the murder trial, which took 13 years, then the appeal took 3 more years. And therefore, the movie, for the purpose of a creative work, some of the things have been changed. This was not the original thing. There were so many side stories in this film. For example, the corruption. It was not the DGP who offered. It was the policeman who offered the 1 lakh. And she was just earning 100 rupees. And the bribe was 1,000 times more, and she refused. That's the greatest thing. A person who earns 100 rupees, she refused 1,000 times of amount, saying, I will not. Speak to my lawyer. And then the police came to my office and then wanted to offer in a suitcase full of cash. I have never seen in my life somebody is offering cash like that. I was so much taken back. I could not know how to react. Then I immediately went to the court and complained to the judges that these 2 policemen are coming to my office and offering bribe. Then the notice was ordered to the DGP. DGP was summoned. And DGP said, I don't know, but then I'll take action. For the first time, all the policemen were suspended, not for their action in the police station, but for the improper conduct of approaching the other side lawyer. All of them were suspended. That was the second victory in our case. And the lawyer who appeared in the criminal trial, his house was attacked, his library was burnt, his car was burnt, and we got police protection through court orders, and then we got compensation for those lawyers. There are so many incidents that took place along this, but for the purpose of a clear story, and we didn't want to make the hero a superhero, and therefore some of the scenes were cut out, and in the audience interest some scenes were added. Somebody asked whether it is real. The moment you put some background music, it is not real. Therefore, you should think no film is a real film because you are having some background music. In this case, there are several other incidents that are added, and the life of the Irulas, that was most real. That is most important in this case because that brought the entire plight of the whole community. In that sense, we had a greater audience interest because a community which lives by snake charmers, a community who believes in environmental thing. You see, we worship all the snakes by Nagaraja and Nagataman and so many things, but they never kill even a single snake. And the snake catches a rat, and the rat is destroyed, which will be saving the grains. And these people are really the friends of the farmer. These are all the things which have been brought in, and the people who are doing performance, they have been given a training for nearly 2 months. They lived with them to know how they work, what they eat, and how they live. And there's a very cooperation we got from the film stars. That's a very important thing. And we also learned several things out of this film. And it's a long story that I need not say. But one thing I can tell you, that Raja Khanna and his wife were, though taken to the police station for 3 days, no villager went to them to ask for. There is no inclusiveness. They don't belong to the village. Therefore, I told the judge, unless they have a house in that village, nobody will come to their rescue. In any other community, the village leaders would have gone and asked the police why you are detaining a man for 3 days. In this case, nobody came because they don't belong to the village. Only 2 members of the tribal were living in that village. So the judge wrote in the order that the argument of the learned council is very important, that we direct the collector to give them a house site in the same village. A house site was given to them in the same village also, and compensation was given to them for the first time. Previously, for police attack, compensations are hardly given by the court. Some costs are given. These are the issues. This led to a greater amount of legal victory. When I talk about Kerala, not only these boys were there, even to cite a judgment, we cited the judgment of Rajan. Judges were asking in a habeas corpus whether evidence can be let in or not. Then we showed the Rajan's case, and that was accepted, and then evidence was recorded. And that is There are several things that took place in this case. But the major victory was a life of a whole tribe was shown in this film. When we went to outdoor shooting, we wanted to locate some of the Yerula habitat. We could not find out where they were living. And I remembered the director was telling in a press interview, when Mahatma Gandhi said, India lives in villages, Dr. Ambedkar asked him, Babuji, which village you are talking about? Every village there are two villages. There is a Ur, there is a colony. Then which village you are talking about? When we went to locate for outdoor shooting, we found there is a third village. We went and asked the colony, where are these Trivandrum people? They showed some other place. There are no road, there are no light, there are no water supply, no ration card. They are not even voters in this elections. Nothing is given to them, no Aadhaar card, nothing. They were being totally isolated from the village. There is a total exclusion. No development scheme has ever gone to them by the government. Though in Tamil Nadu, it's only 1% population. Less than 8 lakh people are living under the Adivasi category. But then no development activities ever gone to them. But after the film, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu who saw the film within 2 days, he was so moved and he started doing something for this Adivasi. He has done 2 things. One is that he has asked all the district collectors to give a report as to why, how many people are living under any district and why no development scheme has gone to them. If it's not gone to them, all the revenue officers must give an explanation. So there is a feverish activity now on this. He himself has gone to several tribal settlements and started activating the officers to work for them. And the production company gave 1 crore rupee for the Yerula Protection Society for their development. Now they are starting a students' hostel for those people. Because these people are always migrant. The students also lose their education from going to place. Now because of this money, they are starting a hostel, residential hostel for the Yerula boys. Some things are changing now. That way we are happy we are able to trigger a new debate on the issue of the life of Adivasis and a measure to bring them as an inclusive part of the society.
Sir, in fact, I was just going through the manner in which the film was taken. Now, before that, I have just a quick question to you. Were you ever offered or did you ever wish to be physically present in the film itself?
No, actually a film is a creative work and then everybody cannot show their face that
Yes.
way. Except my name, I don't think I was even called to or I was even offered to work in that film. But I was working from behind. If you see the court set, that was the real set, which is the High Court Madras, the 3rd court hall. And the art director has not seen the court. So we took them to court, but there is a lot of prohibition now because there is during COVID time they could not go. So what we did was we took a microfilm of all the entire the wall, the beadings, the luster lamp, the fan, the furniture, everything was there. It took 47 days for him to put the set. After the set was put, we did not know how much people will appreciate this because it took quite a expense for doing this. And when we put that set, I took my old court officers who was used to work for me in the court. I took them. They were asking me, my lord, where do you want to go? I said, you please come with me. And we took them to the studio and we opened the door. They could not believe that they were standing in the similar court which they were working. In fact, both the women employees said, my lord, it looks exactly like a 3rd court hall. Actually, it is not correct. It is not exactly the same because after we put the court hall, we found there were 2 British judges' portraits there in the behind. But then I could not digest that. Therefore, I put Justice Krishnayar's picture on the back side. That's not real. Krishnayar doesn't belong to our court. But then we could not forget. So whenever Surya gets up and argues, his portrait can be seen from the back. And Krishnayar's son, who's there in Chennai, called me and said, it's a very good film, sir. You have done good service. I asked him, did you see your father? Where, sir? You will see again. So he called again and said, we are very grateful to you, sir, that you brought so much laurels for my... I said, Krishnayar was a leading spirit in any human right, and therefore I could have a minimum satisfaction that I was able to do some pranams for him by putting that portrait there. So that may be not realistic, but then instead of some British judge, Indian judge can be there, who was also the eye opener for many of these issues.
Apart from Justice Krishna Iyer, I think the real hero of your life has been B.R. Ambedkar. It also says that the film's name Jai Bhim comes from Jai, and it is about Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar. So that is how Jai Bhim, even the name captions in. I was also just wondering, in the film also you find a beautiful portion where the hero refers to 1978 Criminal Law Journal, the Kerala decision which he relies upon, rather Advocate Chandru relies upon, to drive home the point that in Article 226, wherein habeas corpus petitions are considered, the court can go far beyond and take evidence and establish and prove the case. So that, I think, is a landmark judgment in every way. Probably the first time that the High Court of Madras has entered into an investigation process in a habeas corpus petition. So if you ask me the relevance of what Advocate Chandru has been, it is that he was relevant in contributing a landmark judgment not only to the High Court of Madras but to the country at large. Also, his activism for the cause of tribal people and the underprivileged has gone a long way, no doubt. In the creation of Jai Bhim, we can see that. In a number of judgments after that, we can see that, because custodial interrogation, custodial death, rights of prisoners, rights of detainees are always discussed with equal force. However, I just wanted to also ask you, sir, you have been very vocal about it. However, how did you feel when we have had an incident in Kerala also, where there have been instances when people have been probably not been treated so well just because of their caste issues? How did you respond when you have heard such instances much after you left your office, much after you left the comforts and trappings of power? Are you now able to, as a normal citizen, are you able to contribute to a little more than what you were doing in the earlier time? Is it possible? And do you think the judiciary has actually been awakened after this judgment in any way?
In many meetings, students ask me, after this incident, is this police third degree methods have stopped or not?
Yes.
And is the only case which I have conducted, which is not true at all. In fact, in my biography, which has also been translated to Malayalam, I have mentioned not only one or two cases. In fact, as a lawyer, I have fought at least 17 cases of torture death. As a judge, I have heard at least 55 cases where the only difference was the experience that you gain in such matters. When such matters come to me as a judge, you can decide within 5 days or 10 days, not take 9 months. This Rajakannu case took 9 months, but the trial took place 13 years. But whereas any encounter death, any police torture, in my court will take a week's time. So we have also gained how to deal with such human rights violations. Therefore, this was also an eye-opener for us, because working for a case for the first time, you got to do a lot of work. After you establish certain procedure, then everything goes smoothly. Today, if you go to the Madras High Court, giving compensation is automatic. Ordering second post-mortem is automatic. Giving compensation, not only compensation, appointing SIT or changing investigation agency is again. Appointing special officer is again. Therefore, we are satisfied that we are able to put some steps for other people to claim. And then I will not say such human rights violations have come down. But if it is there, there are some courts to take care of. That is most important. I was speaking to Vijayawada Bar Association after this movie. One girl, one woman came from Anantapur. Like Anantapuram, we have a Andhra, Anantapuramu. She came with her son, and she doesn't know Tamil, and she traveled 700 kilometers. Then she met some auto driver in the central station. Nobody can speak Telugu except one man out of 60. She went and asked that man, I want to go to lawyer Chandru's house. The auto man asked, where is the address? We don't have address. Then he asked for a picture. Then they showed the picture of Surya. And that man, That man said, he's a cinema actor. No, we want to see him. After 3 hours of search, he came to my house and he acted as an interpreter. Then this woman said, I am a wife of a BJP leader and he has taken a second wife and he has driven out of the house. When we go to the police station, police are not registering. I asked that lady, in Anantapur there are 1,000 lawyers. Why do you travel 700 kilometers here in this place? She said, we don't know any lawyer. I said, how do you know me? We saw the film and we know this lawyer will do. Then I said, in 1953, Andhra Pradesh gone separately and the High Court is in Vijayawada, not in Chennai. So you must go to Vijayawada. I don't know anybody. I said, I'll give a letter. You can go there, meet that lawyer. She said, we don't have any money. We just took a ticket and landed in Chennai. I said, how do you take a one-way ticket and come to Chennai? She said, after seeing the film, we realized Chandru will take care of us all. This is something unimaginable. Therefore, I gave some money and then sent her back to Anantapur giving some letter. But this is not the only incident. Every day I am getting 2 or 3 cases per day, left out by lawyer, hopeless cases, nothing else to do. They all land up in my office. They are not 1 or 2 cases. Every day. I don't practice as a lawyer. Last 10 years, I don't wear my gown. After being retired, I am not taking up any case. I am not practicing law. But nevertheless, I told the Vijayawada bar, the human right defense cannot be left to 1 or 2 individuals. It is not the victory of one individual fighting battle for everybody. It's not possible. Under the Advocates Act, you must keep a human rights cell. And then anybody comes, you must be able to fight. I have not charged any money for any human rights case for the last 45 years. Like that, you can have a council, you can do that. They were saying, no sir, there is no such idea, we'll do it. But the crisis today is the lawyers having been trained in law, having been defenders of human rights, they are not willing to take pro bono cases. It's only very few lawyers in every place, and that too, they get overcrowded. And that's a very sad state of affairs in our legal or judicial system. That's a major weakness that we are having.
If I am not wrong, I understand that while you were an advocate, sir, you were taking a number of pro bono cases for human rights causes. And this particular case that has hit the silver screens also had Advocate Chandru appearing in a pro bono capacity. He did not charge anything from Raja Kannu's wife. I was also, I think it is something that is remarkable that while he was mentioning about his staff calling him my lord, which is the normal way in which a learned judge, the honorable judge, is addressed, he refused to be addressed as my lord in his courts. And I am also told that while he demitted office on the day of his retirement, he stopped all the official privileges that came with it and simply went home as nobody else other than just K. Chandru. No official car, no official escort. If I am not right, that shows that here is a man who really lives in accordance with his principles. Now, I wanted a comment from you, sir. We have legal services committees now functioning under the auspices of the High Court. We have National Legal Service Committee, we have State Legal Services Committees, we have Lok Adalats being conducted, we have Human Rights Council being engaged by various High Courts, we have human rights activists, far more than in number than it was earlier. Do you think there is any message that you can convey to them, particularly to the activists, the lawyers and the social workers who may be interested in taking up human rights causes? One. Second, as a lawyer practicing in the court, probably it was a lot easier for you to access justice. Not only access justice in the term that it means, but also access the temple of justice, because court to you is your second home. But look at the larger audience who understand justice only in the way it is told to them, probably from news reports, probably from social media comments. They do not really experience what justice is or what an actual court of law is and how it functions. Have you ever felt that human rights cases, when it is tried, that it should be live streamed, that it should be shown to the people at large, and that a system wherein the public can also participate or comment while the trial or at any stage of the proceeding is going on. Do you think that in cases where human rights issues are involved, particularly in cases of custodial deaths or custodial torture, that the public at large should be given more access to justice?
One thing about stopping people addressing you, my lord, or taking the train, leaving the car, these are also ordinary issues. Only when a dog bites a man, it's not a story. When a man bites a dog, that becomes a story. And that's not very difficult to practice these things. In fact, it is difficult to implement that. When I tell, why do you call me my lord? Sorry, my lord, they'll say. There is no way of changing, because they think judges will get amused or at least get pleased by such honorifics. In fact, we used to put a poster that nobody should address like this. This is not allowed in Bar Council, and we are not British court. Then it can't change. By few individuals' action, it cannot be changed at all. That's one thing. Secondly, the movie did make some impact, even among judges. I can give you an example. In Vijayawada, speaking to the lawyers, I made a criticism of the Andhra Pradesh judiciary. So the opposition leader Chandrababu Naidu got angry. He gave a statement that some Tamil Nadu judge coming here and creating problem. And somebody filed a contempt against me for speaking against the judiciary. Then the meeting of the judges discussed whether contempt notice should be issued or not. The Chief Justice apparently told that otherwise he is doing good work, he is part of that Jai Bhim film, we will drop the pen. So I escaped from contempt because of Jai Bhim. Today in many places they show this film as an example for habeas corpus. I went to Bangalore National Law University. There was a 3-hour discussion. What is the scope of habeas corpus and how traditional habeas corpus has given away to a new habeas corpus in the Indian jurisprudence, and how this film could highlight what a judge can do with a 226 petition. Therefore, this is something we could take the issue further. In fact, recently the Kerala Law Academy running a college, they have constructed a theatre for putting educational film for the students. So that correspondent, he asked me, I should come and inaugurate the theatre and we will show Jai Bhim film. So I said, no, I can't come now, I'll come some other time. So they put the Jai Bhim film as the first film when starting the new theatre for the students. This is something where there is a discussion behind the film. There are many films which come and go, but this film carries a wider message. In fact, after taking the film, we had a serious discussion, what could be the title. Several titles were explored, but we want to have a title which can go throughout India, not just for Tamil Nadu. Therefore, we thought of Jai Bhim can be a film, it's a war cry. Now, that title has been registered by some other cinema director, so we went and asked him, he immediately gave that. So one of the major success for the film was Jai Bhim. So everybody now says Jai Bhim. I was coming from, now everybody says is Jai Bhim Justice Chandru. Now that has become my prefix also.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to say that. But then this Jai Bhim, that 2 words, has become a magical impact on the entire audience, that people say Jai Bhim. I was coming from Delhi in a flight. One air hostess came and asked me, sir, can I ask you one question? I said, Jai Bhim. Then she went back. She knew that I am the Chandru. As the flight was landing, she announced, Indigo announces proudly that Justice Chandru is flying in the same aircraft. I could not imagine that it could impact such an impact on people. I'm very happy that a movie can make such a big change. But beyond all this, it is difficult to create creative work like this. There are many people, many Tamil directors, they throw a party for me in honor of this film. There were 10, 11 directors, including Bharati Raja was there. And then every director was thinking how this new director, Jnanavelu, has taken only 2 films. And the second film became internationally acclaimed. So they were all very surprised. So seeing the mood of these directors, Bharati Raja said, why all of you are having long face, having some frown face? Ayya has got 100 stories. Each one take one story and take the film. It's not as if only this film is available. Many people ask me, You open any law book, hundreds of stories of human rights violations are there. It's not as if, after I published my book, my biography, at least 10 directors asked me for permission to make it as a film, and I refused because Bhim 2.0 is coming in 2025. We have made an announcement in Goa, and that film is not just a crime, it's a human rights scene of our country. The broader light we want to take that film, and therefore it triggers. Today in Tamil Nadu, even in Kerala, there are many police station oriented, court oriented, judgment oriented. In fact, one Tamil film says, "Tirpugal virkapadum," judgments are being sold. And they call me for, now I have become consultant on all this film because they want to know how the their court dialects are correct or not, the scene has been described or not. Now I become more, not as a lawyer, as a consultant for court scenes. Yes. It's very fallout of this. In fact, when Krishna was there, Kamala Hassan took a film, the Virmandi. That film is about death penalty. Now that Kamala Hassan was very particular that Krishna should come in the first scene and speak 5 minutes of his views on death penalty. And Krishna had a second thought. How I, as a retired judge, I can go there and all that. So we convinced him, sir, you have been doing propaganda. Only few people will be listening. If it is going as a film, how many people will see this? So he agreed. So the Virmandi, the first scene starts with Krishna speaking against the death penalty. So seeing that, one director last week asked me, he has named the film as Final Judgment. He told me I must come and speak for 5 minutes. We will put it like Krishna. I said, no, we will not be carried by us. But today, an area which has never been explored, an area where people are afraid to speak, an area which very difficult to treat that path, people are now willing to explore that area. So the Bhim has opened the eyes, it has cut the eyes, it has broken the eyes for other people to follow, and I am sure there will be more number of films. In the Goa Film Festival, they announced Bhim 2.0. So some of the Hindi directors now want to take Hindi remake of Bhim. We said no, you can take another human right violation. Why repeat the same performance? So today, Bhim's success, whether you call it as a success or not, the success has shown that there are other themes other than the usual romance stories and other stories. There are themes which people can explore. I think that's the greatest victory for Bhim.
Well, I think from being a legal consultant to a film consultant, now Honorable Justice K. Chandru is truly a person to be emulated. With this thought, I think I should leave the floor to the audience now, also with a small tip as to whether the education of today should also consider including in its curriculum these kind of landmark judgments and heroes who have contributed to these judgments, who have in fact contributed to the betterment of human rights issues in a very different way. This kind of practical knowledge and practical wisdom will probably go a long way in reshaping and reframing the education of India today. With this, may I request the audience to probably ask Honorable Justice K. Chandru a few questions or share with him your ideas.
Sir. Sir, my name is Kiran Dibu. I am coming from Kollam. Regarding, you spoke about custodial death, police atrocity, everything you discussed. But I asked my friend who is an advocate, he told me anti-torture law, that is the only solution for this police atrocity, preventing police atrocity or custodial death, that kind of thing. So 2 times that bill not passed in Parliament. So can you please address anti-torture law? Some people will get some idea about anti-torture law also, this occasion.
What exactly the question?
He wants to know about anti-torture law. Anti-torture law. I'm not too sure whether there is a bill like that, but probably you can tell him about the rights of prisoners and how the custodial interrogation and custodial death can be involved. I guess you are probably asking about custodial issues.
If it is a general question, I think other audience may not be interested. If you anything about the film, I can speak about the film.
Okay, no, it's related to police atrocity and custodial death. It's related to indirectly related to anti-torture law. So I want to hear from you regarding that anti-torture law.
One second. I have a hearing problem.
I think he is probably wanting to know how the torture in the police stations, police atrocities, that in what way can a law prevent it? Apart from constitutional rights, whether can be a specific. I think that's what you mean. Apart from the constitutional rights, the fundamental rights, a statute, right?
Article 22 talks about the pre-trial rights of the accused. Having a lawyer of choice, producing before the magistrate, and giving the grounds of arrest. Now, this has been there for the last 75 years, but now the courts have come out and expanded this right. Now, D.K. Basu case and Neelabadi Bera's case, where the accused rights have been more expanded, and the police have been asked to take it. Now, if you take the small case, like compare after 30 years, Rajakannu, and you know in Sathangulam in Tamil Nadu, a father and son were tortured and murdered in the station. Now, the father and son belong to the dominant community in that area. The day this happened, the wide publicity, not only an international publicity, and within a short time, the whole world started condemning. And the police, immediately government reacted and handed over to CBI inquiry. Now CBI quickly conducted an investigation and the trial goes on. The trial is completed. Judgment is expected sometime in 2 months, in the month of April. Now, if you are a powerful person and you belong to a dominant group and there is a vigilant public, social media, the difference, the Sathangulam and Parvati's case was totally different. If you see the two, what is required is a vigilant public opinion. And you see in Sathangulam, everything is over within a period of 11 months, the trial itself is going to complete. Whereas in Rajakannu case, it took 16 years, 13 years trial, 3 years appeal. Therefore, I think the vigilant public opinion is taking place. Now, if one issue in the Sathangulam case, where the failure took place, if you see, the magistrate who remands these people to jail, he has to see them and ask them whether they want any medical help, whether they have been treated properly. The magistrate lives in the first floor. These two people were brought in a private vehicle. The police alone goes with that record and the magistrate, without seeing them, says remand them. I wrote a letter to the Chief Justice. Under the D.K. Basu guideline, if a magistrate disregards these guidelines, action can be initiated. Why no action is taken? The Chief Justice called me and said, no, very immature young fellow, we will forgive him. The result was 2 deaths were there. Now there is also a reluctance to implement these laws. Police they purge so many things. And public opinion, forget this police torture. Encounter, what is the public opinion? Death penalty, what is the public opinion? In death penalty, Law Commission, which also part of the preparing report, we called all the political parties. Every political party leader came to our commission hall. They said, we support the report, but we can't sell this idea to the public. Our party will not accept. So the Justice Shah Commission report was rejected. You take in Hyderabad, 4 people were arrested on the veterinary doctor who was raped and killed. And police shot them. And the police inspector was garlanded and sweets were distributed. Everybody thought the real culprits were given punishment. In fact, our Chief Justice said, of late people are interested in making instant idli, instant coffee, instant noodles. Everybody wants punishment on the same day. That is not our rule of law. Thereafter, 2 people went to the court, Supreme Court. Supreme Court appointed Justice Sirpurkar Commission. He has, after 6 months of study, he has given a 192 pages report. You can see it in the, you can Google the report, Justice Sirpurkar report. He has now found that the 4 people were being meditated and killed by the police, and they are not the accused. Now the police are inside jail. Does it mean for a human right defense, For a constitutional fundamental right, you need to have such kind of exercise. Should it not start from the lower level? That's a major question. There is a gap between the practice and the real happening in this society.
Yes, thank you. I think sir has correctly addressed it. Of course, you wanted a little more than how the constitutional law would perceive it. Yes, so.
Since we are running out of time, I have to conclude this session.
Only one announcement. After 1 year, we have published the entire dialogue and the songs and 3 interviews with Surya and myself and Jnanavel. For the first time, we brought a book where people should know how the movie was made and what is the problem that they faced and what exactly they were doing to. This book has been released only after the movie, after 1 year.
Sir, can you repeat it?
So that concludes this session with Honorable Justice K. Chandru. It is said that justice should not only be done, but should be seen to have been done. However, there is more to justice sometimes than we what actually see. I hope advocates and judges with mission and vision and commitment will author landmark judgments like this in the years to come so that real justice always triumphs. Thank you, sir. Thank you to the audience, and thank you, Mathrubhumi.
Thank you so much. That was a fantastic session. Can we have a big round of applause for Justice Chandru, Advocate Dr. Thushara James for this wonderful session. And I would like to invite V.K. Sriraman, writer, senior artist, to honor Justice Chandru and Dr. Thushara James. MBIFL Mathrubhumi International Festival of Letters. Bhim, a social seismic shift, honoring Justice Chandru on behalf of MBIL 2023. By giving a memento, we are honoring a big round of applause. Justice Chandru, Jai Bhim, a social seismic shift. Thank you so much for your presence, sir. Moving on, honoring Advocate Dr. Thushara James. Jai Bhim, a social seismic shift. MBIFL Dialogues. Thank you, V.K. Sriraman, sir. Thank you so much, and that is the end of the session. Thank you so much.